I was wanting to had to think of something too.
Oh, no, I think you're good.
So, welcome to the March 25th, 2015 Assembly Appropriations Committee hearing. We're going to start off as a subcommittee since we do not have a quorum just yet. But I want to welcome back the Vice Chair, as well as the returning members and any new members that we have present. But I would like to give the Vice Chair an opportunity to say a few words if he likes.
Really short one. It's a pleasure to be back in the Vice Chair position. And it's exciting to work with you this year. And I know that we have a number of new faces on the committee, and I hope we all are able to work as congenial as we have done in the past, and look forward to working with every member on all the subjects that come before us. So thank you very much for your leadership, and take it away, buddy.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. We have a quorum present. Secretary, call the roll.
Gomez.
Aye.
Here. Bigelow. Bonilla. Bonta.
Here.
Calderon. Chang. Daly. Here. Eggman. Gallagher. Here. Garcia. Here. Holden. Jones. Quirk.
Here.
Rendon. Wagner. Here. Weber. Here. Wood.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. We have our first author present, Mr. Dababne. You're up. Mr. Dababne, you have two bills, one with the due pass recommendation, AB 147 and AB 259 on suspense. What's your pleasure?
I'd like to actually waive AB 259, and I'll go straight to 147, if that's okay, Chair.
Please continue.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of this committee. AB 147, the Animal Research Adoption Bill, is a straightforward, reasonable, and humane proposal to retire the dogs and cats used in taxpayer-funded research laboratories by allowing them to be placed up for adoption at the conclusion of their research. Although many federal, state, and academic institutional policies exist and cover detailed aspects of the dog and cat's life during the research process, there exists no guidelines on what to do with these animals once research has ended. Several schools, including UC Berkeley and UC Davis, have adopted post-research adoption policies, and I applaud them for these efforts. But these programs are voluntary and discretionary. AB 147 would standardize these practices across the state for these research institutions. And it is only in the event that such on-campus adoption programs are unable to find a home for research animals that an outside rescue organization must be contacted under this bill. So if one of these facilities already has a working adoption policy, that would be the first priority. This bill also does not determine which animals would be put up for adoption. That would also remain with these research institutions. And also, after going through the Higher Education Committee, we took the recommendation of that committee staff and its chair and took amendments to make sure that these universities and research institutions would face no liability after the adoption process is completed. According to the committee's analysis, the fiscal effects of this bill are minor to none. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Move the bill.
Second.
The bill has been moved and seconded, but Mr. Dababne will give your witnesses a chance to testify.
Good morning, Chairperson and esteemed members of the committee. My name is Dr. Armaidi May. I'm a practicing veterinarian in Southern California. I'm here today to testify in support of AB 147, the Research Animal Adoption Bill. I'm a graduate of UC Berkeley, where I was a Regents Scholar, and a 2005 graduate of UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine. Having supported rescue organizations in treating dogs who were adopted into homes after being experimented on labs, I know firsthand the care and dedication that goes into not only rescuing these dogs, but rehabilitating them and making sure they are placed in loving, forever homes. This takes a lot of time, and given the busy schedules of the researchers as well as vet students and staff, it is important to reach out to these rescue organizations to allow them to fulfill this duty in a professional and responsible way. As a veterinarian, I took an oath to protect animals, and I think it is our duty to give these animals the best opportunity at a second life. Having performed the euthanasia process on hundreds of animals in my practice as a veterinarian, I can tell you firsthand that this is not only an emotionally draining procedure, it is also costly. When I perform this procedure, I first administer a sedative, which is comprised of 2 drugs, a pain reliever, along with a sedative. That takes about 10 to 15 minutes to take effect, and the animal goes into a tranquil sleeping state. Then I shave a patch of hair from the forearm or sometimes the back leg, depending on the vein, and I administer euthanasia injection into the vein, which usually takes effect within about a minute. Then I auscult the heart to verify there's no heartbeat. At that point, the animal's remains must be dealt with, either via cremation, aquamation, or another method of disposal. Combined with the syringes, the chemical drugs, and disposal costs, we're looking at upwards of $80 for disposal and the euthanasia fees for each animal. This is a significant expense, especially when you consider the numbers of animals, which we don't have access to that information. I wish there was an adoption program in place when I was a student at UC Davis. I was not made aware of any such program. So if it was in place at that time when I was a student there, it wasn't advertised to me, and I certainly was involved in animal welfare as president of the Student Animal Welfare Committee while a student at UC Davis. Ultimately, I think this is the right thing to do for our animals, as well as something that will actually save money for the state. So I ask for your vote in favor of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? If not, we'll go to individuals from the public in support. And then we just want your name, organization, and your support or opposed position. And this one is support.
Hello, my name is Kevin Chase. I live in Los Angeles in District 50, and I'm in support of AB 147. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Linda Pillard, and I live in the Capay Valley. I am here today now in support of AB.
We just want your name and position, please. Thank you.
Zemslander from Elk Grove. I support 147.
Thank you.
Karen Johnson, Santa Cruz, California. I support AB 147.
Thank you.
Jill Larson from Loomis, California, and the mother of a beagle adopted through the UC system. Please support AB 147.
Thank you.
Dave Rutan, Manhattan Beach, and I support this proposal.
My name is Lori Gentry from Manhattan Beach, and I support AB 147. And this is my dog, Indy.
Thank you.
I'm Kelly Seltzer from Los Angeles. I support AB 147. Thank you.
Lynn Bowen from Sebastopol, and I am a foster and volunteer for Beagle Freedom Project. I do fosters and adopting, and I've also adopted a dog from the UC program. I am in support of 147.
Good morning, Shannon Keith from Los Angeles, California, and I support this bill.
Good morning, Monique Hansen. I also support this bill.
Marcia Lowry from El Sobrante, California. I support AB 147. Thank you.
Hi, Andrea Suarez from Elk Grove, California, and I support this bill. Please pass it. Thanks.
I'm Don Suarez from Elk Grove, California, and I support this bill, and I hope you do too.
Thank you. Any Witnesses in opposition. And we're keeping it down to 2 witnesses in opposition. The rest can be add-ons.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Jason Murphy on behalf of the University of California. We unfortunately remain in opposition to this bill, AB 147. I want to thank the author for some of the most recent amendments. They have allowed the university, they've specified that the university can continue to utilize our internal adoption programs that we've had in place for several years, and we'll continue to utilize those, so we appreciate that. But the reason why we continue to remain opposed is that I think as the conversation on this bill has continued and evolved, we've become more and more aware of what the true intent of the sponsors of this bill really are, and that is to insinuate themselves into our research programs. I want to call your attention to an identity campaign that the Beagle Freedom Group launched just within the last week or so, the goal of which is to quote-unquote adopt or symbolically adopt animals within our current research operations at the University of California. And as part of the adoption program, they would be given a template Public Records Act request to submit to the university to get ongoing vet records, daily use and care logs, and so forth from university researchers as those animals continue in university research. I realize and acknowledge that this particular program is not a function of the bill or would be allowed or disallowed under the bill. However, it is an indication of the significant increases in Public Records Act requests we would expect to receive as a result of the effort of these sponsors. We conservatively put a price tag of approximately $250,000 on those such costs, and again, that is a conservative estimate. I see no reason why we wouldn't expect perhaps many, many more PRA requests coming in. So I just, again, want the committee to be aware that this is part and parcel of the motives and the goals of the sponsors of this bill, and we believe at the university that those efforts are going to draw attention and time and energy away from the good work going on at the University of California. Thank you.
Good morning. Veronica Villalobos-Cruz with the Independent Colleges Association. We too are opposed to the bill. Our concerns lie with policy, on policy issues and with the unintended consequences that we believe the bill will have. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members, Duncan McFetters representing the University of Southern California and opposed to the bill.
Thank you. Now, individuals from the public who are also in opposition.
Mr. Chairman, members, Bob Naylor representing Stanford University. We remain opposed. We do appreciate the author's amendments, but the liability issue has not been taken care of in our opinion.
Amanda Carson Banks from the California Biomedical Research Association representing the biomedical research facilities in the state. We remain opposed to the bill.
Thank you. Not seeing any other individuals from the public. Department of Finance.
No file on this, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to questions and comments from the committee. Mr. Quirk.
What was one of the major arguments against your bill? By the way, I'm going to support your bill, no question. One of the major arguments, yeah, we don't applaud, but thank you anyway. One of the major arguments made was essentially the slippery slope argument. I don't buy slippery slope arguments. However, I realize as a researcher myself that there can be, that these wonderful people may sometimes cause some problems at the university, and I wanted to let the universities know that if there are problems being caused and we can help, I would certainly look at that. But I look at this law as being a modest one. I'm not quite sure why they don't feel the liability issue is taken care of, but I'm sure if they talk with the author and a simple change can be made to the bill, that you would be willing to look at it.
Mr. Quirk, I appreciate your support and your very thoughtful words as someone that comes from academia and research. It carries a lot of weight. I will tell you that last year we pulled the bill back, and this year we've also taken amendments, not only from the Higher Ed Committee, but we've given all these institutions, and we have email documentation, ample time to include more amendments. None of the institutions actually responded with any further amendments or any other concerns with the liability. So we feel like we've done a good job on the liability portion. And actually, if you see, because we allow for their programs to still be first in terms of adoption, this is a sample of the Berkeley adoption form. the number 3 line actually says very clearly that when these pets are put up for adoption, that the university assumes no liability and is basically excludes them from any liability going forward. They would still be able, on top of our bill, to use these forms, and they would stand up in any court case. Furthermore, I would just like to address very briefly in terms of the other argument you heard against this bill. That might be a legitimate situation, but that has nothing to do with this bill. They basically said that the public shouldn't have an ability to ask for, public records through the Freedom of Information Act. That's a completely different debate. Maybe if they want to, determine that in a future setting under a future bill, that's fine. But under this bill, what they explained is a possibility for underlying reasons as one of the groups that supports this bill has no bearing on this bill or any bearing on anything this legislation does. And I do take a little bit of offense to that being the main reason to vote against this bill, because that has really nothing to do with this bill.
It certainly didn't convince me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bonta.
Thank you, Mr. DeBobnay, for bringing this bill forward. It's a great bill. I'm very pleased and happy to be able to support it today, and I just wanted to respectfully request that I be added as a co-author at the next appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bonta. Any other questions or comments? Let me just add... Oh, Mr. Gallagher, sorry.
I just also wanted to say I'll be supporting your bill today, and I understand the important research mission that the UC has, but to me this is just a very common sense measure that these animals deserve a chance. Before you go to euthanize, give them a chance to go to one of the rescue shelters and have a chance at a loving home. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Very well said, and this bill is a measure of last resort, not first resort. The schools will still have the ability to use their programs first. This would only be a measure of last resort, and that's why we've written the language as we have.
Seeing other questions, comments, let me just add that when we were, the appropriation staff was reviewing this issue, they specifically reviewed the question of more public records Information Act requests, right? And one of the things they found is that they can do that already. You can have as many of those requests right now. So we don't see that this bill has a direct impact on the increase of those requests, and we don't see that this bill has any direct cost because of the increase in requests. I'd like to also just make sure that people understand on this bill, it doesn't determine who gets the animal, right? It doesn't say that this particular rescue organization gets the animal. It is still going to be up to a selection process that whoever gets that animal. So I also would like to warn the proponents to not overreach when it comes to your advocacy, because sometimes it can hurt your advocacy more than some of the issues that, some of the laws that you pass. So just keep that in mind. I'm in favor of the bill. I got my dog from a rescue organization. I want a beagle, but my wife says that they're kind of hard to control. So, so I won't be getting a beagle anytime soon. But the bill has been properly moved and seconded, and it is out on an A roll call. Thank you so much, Mr. DeBobnay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ms. Gonzalez, you're up. And you're presenting on behalf of Mr. Levine, correct? Yes. Mr. Levine has two bills. 293 is on consent, and then 251 is a due pass recommendation.
So I'm only presenting on 251.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair and members. Today I present to you Assembly Bill 251, which would provide in prevailing wage law by defining, it would provide clarity, in prevailing wage law by defining a de minimis public subsidy. This bill defines public subsidy if it is both less than $25,000 and less than 1% of the total project costs. This would allow a developer, if she or he chooses, to seek and or accept a public subsidy to know if the Prevailing Wage Act will then cover the project. As stated in the analysis, the costs associated with this bill are minor and absorbable. With me to testify in support of the bill is Cesar Diaz with the State Buildings and Construction Trades.
Mr. Chair and members, Cesar Diaz on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council. The Labor Code Section 1720C3 provides that a project does not become subject to the prevailing wage law if it receives a public subsidy that is de minimis in the context of the project. The legal definition of de minimis is the trifling, minimal, and so insignificant that a court may overlook it. The DIR, unfortunately, has been interpreting de minimis to mean 2% of the total project cost. And without actual definition, that interpretation is pretty loose, so it's really had to address anywhere from a subsidy from tens of thousands to millions of dollars to private projects. AB 251 provides a definition to ensure that there's clarity when a contractor or developer chooses to accept a public subsidy and knowingly then accepts that they would trigger the prevailing wage. When there's a question about whether prevailing wage applies to a project, the DIR has to go through a time-consuming and costly process. Oftentimes, the contractors later on are determined to have to pay the prevailing wage and have to retroactively apply it. So that's also a problem for us and our unions to go in and talk to these contractors, identify when there's this public subsidy, and then go through the process at the DIR. Furthermore, the state is about to embark on a requirement that all public works contractors have to be registered with the Department of Industrial Relations. So this bill will actually clarify, and knowing that a contractor that is working on a project that's now determined to be prevailing wage covered has to register with the state, and that would also avoid a lot of the penalties and fines that are associated with that law. So for those reasons, we respectfully urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz. Any other witnesses in support? Any individuals from the public in support? Name and organization and position.
Michael Young, California Labor Federation, also here in support.
See no other. Oh, one more.
My apologies. Justin Fans on behalf of the California State Association of Electrical Workers, the California State Pipe Trades Council, and the Western States Sheet Metal Workers, all in support.
Thank you so much. Witnesses in opposition to the bill.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members. Julianne Broyles here on behalf of the Associated Builders and Contractors of California in opposition to AB 251. The issue of de minimis is not a new issue. It is one that has come before this legislature before, and it's been a subject of discussion among the stakeholders when the original legislation went through about what actually constituted de minimis. All of the stakeholders, at least on the contractor side, agree that where we left it was at 2%. This is not what this bill does. It's trying to drop it down to 1%, and that actually is something that will cause many more projects to fall underneath this definition of de minimis and trigger the prevailing wage requirement. There are so many things that can trigger de minimis. It's a tax subsidy, it's a tax credit, it's whether a local public entity waived some sort of rule in order to permit that project to go forward. So it's a very difficult issue. And the final point that we think that the committee should consider is that the governor vetoed the exact same bill last year and believed that he would probably do so again. Ask for a no vote.
Any other witnesses in opposition? Any individuals from the public in opposition? Seeing none. Department of Finance.
We have no position on this, but we note that this bill would likely have no general fund impact. DIR, the Department of Industrial Relations, does not anticipate any fiscal impact on state agencies. However, DIR does indicate it is possible that public works project costs may rise as a result of more projects being subject to prevailing wage.
Move the bill.
Second.
Now you know what it's like to be a member. Welcome. So the bill has been moved and seconded by Quirk and Bonta. Any questions or comments from the committee? Seeing none, Ms. Gonzalez, would you like to close?
On behalf of Assemblymember Levine, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you so much. This bill is out on a B roll call.